Howdy class. My name is Japneet Singh and I'm gonna do my graduate project presentation on deepfakes. So let's get started. Talking about deepfakes, right? We're gonna cover introduction, like what are deepfakes, how are they created, and then we're gonna explore it from three lenses. The first one will be why create deepfake? What is the intent behind creating a deepfake? And we'll cover some recent examples from that. Second lens would be the legal issues of deepfakes. For example, deepfakes are legal in USA, and we're going to cover what exactly are the concerns while we create deepfakes in United States of America. The third lens is the individual impact. So basically, as a user, you or me, how we are impacted and what is our response. And we're going to cover a scenario for that. And then we're going to conclude our presentation. So let's get started. So what are deepfakes? So deepfakes are nothing but the videos which are created using some machine learning algorithms. Usually face swapping happens in deepfakes. For example, if you use Snapchat, you must be familiar with augmenting some special effects or uh, having some different expressions, having some changes happening as you smile, right? So usually deepfakes are created for political personalities or celebrities, and it just depict them saying things which they would not say otherwise. For example, let's look at this.
Howdy, class. All of you get an A grade for your projects, even for minimum efforts.
So did you believe that, what Dr. Judge said? Of course not, right? For two reasons. First, it was a really lousy attempt at making a deepfake. Second, Dr. George will never say that. Let's be real, right? How about you see this video instead?
Howdy, class. If you do minimum efforts on your assignments, you will get a C grade.
Now that looks much more realistic, right? Dr. George is likely to say that, and she does say that, right? So let's move on to how I created these and what exactly happened when I was creating this. So how are deepfakes created? Uh, they usually are created using two different faces. For example, there will be a face A, there will be an original face B. These faces will be fed to an encoder, which will recognize the features of this face. This is where the machine learning algorithm is getting trained from these faces. So once the encoder gets trained from these algorithms, it creates two latent faces, that is latent face A and latent face B. So once the training is complete, the model is trained, then we use cross decoding. That is, latent phase B is fed to decoder A, whereas latent phase A is fed to decoder B. And this is where we are able to construct a phase A from B, which means that it will be the phase A, but it will have features of an expression of phase B. For example, if phase B was smiling or it was angry, and just like this, phase B will be constructed from phase A. And this can be done even with fruits. I can create apple from kiwi and anything else. Moving on, why create deepfakes? It is clear. First is financial gain. You can easily have some financial gain motives by presenting some false information. So if you're talking about maybe you can create a deepfake of Elon Musk talking some bad things about Tesla stock. That means their stock is gonna fall and maybe some other stock is gonna rise. That is financial gain, and you're also spreading false information there. So other reason could be maybe to harass somebody, undermine people, try to intimidate somebody by impersonating someone you are not. And lastly, there could be no reason at all, just for fun. Moving on. So this is an example of deepfakes app from China. So right now, creating deepfakes is illegal in China, and they're cracking down anyone who creates deepfakes. But the deepfake apps that are created by Chinese developers are thriving in the United States. So what is the intent behind these deepfake apps?
Maybe that's a question you should ask China. Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay?
So it is clear. It is financial gain. It is financial gain. It is data collection. These apps are constantly collecting data, and they are making a lot of money because people are downloading and subscribing to these apps. So one of the examples is Face Magic, which actually runs in a sexually explicit ad saying that you can make deepfake porn within a second. So think about it. You're causing a damage to somebody's reputation by creating a porn which they never created. On to lens 2, that's our legal issues. So what are the legal issues with deepfakes right now? Deepfakes are legal in USA, which means I can create deepfakes for anyone, but it cannot breach any standard code of conduct, like it cannot be some illegal pornography about someone. It violates personal rights, so basically I am creating deepfakes without their consent, so it is actually violating their personal rights because they did not authorize me to create any deepfakes, and it might damage their reputation. That's where defamation cases come in. So if you look at the acts that basically supervise deepfakes, it includes National Defense Authorization Act, which basically maintains reports of all the deepfakes which are generated and authorizes and make sure that it not breaches any of the standard code of conduct that they have. Then we also have a Deepfake Report Act, which is basically you just focusing on the technology that is being used to create deepfakes. And the last that was this law was actually implemented by former President Donald Trump. This is identifying output of GAN, that's generative adversarial networks. So GAN is the technology that is used to create deepfakes. So basically this law is taking a look at all the outputs, means all the deepfakes that are generated at all the time. So just basically looking at all the deepfakes and making sure they adhere to the existing laws. So moving on to lens 3, that is the individual impact. This is the user's response to the deepfakes. So how are we as users responding to these different deepfakes that are emerging and circulating on social media? First, it's lack of willingness to report the fake videos. People are not willing enough to detect a deepfake and actually report it so that it can be taken down and there can be no false information that spreads any further. Second, people are willing to share the videos which support their viewpoint, even if they know that they are fake. For example, if I create a fake video of Donald Trump and circulated it, which actually highlights Republican Party and Donald Trump in good face, the other person, if he's a supporter of the Republican Party, he's going to share it without even fact checking or without, and even if they know that it's fake, they're going to share it because it supports their viewpoint. And the last, that there is lack of awareness among people that so many fake videos are being created right now. So people are not aware of the scale at which these fake videos are being created right now. So now we're going to cover a short scenario. So for example, this is an example of an email deepfake, right? So this email is from Dr. Jordana George, right? That's what this person is claiming. And he says, "Howdy, Japneet. Hope you're doing well. FYI, you will be required to pay $2,000 for your classes, and you'll have to complete the payment prior to the finals week. Below is the cash app to make your payment. Let me know once it's done. Regards, Dr. George again." So here, this person is impersonating Dr. George and asking me for money and sharing their cash app details. So I think I should just go ahead and make the payment, right? Time wasted time. What do you think? So this is clearly a fake email. So as a user, what you should do is, first of all, this email went directly to my spam. That is a clear indication that this is a false information. This is some untrusted source. Second, we must check the email address of this person, who this person is, right? Third thing, there will be a lot of spelling mistakes. Usually they might not be as sophisticated as this email. And lastly, um, report this email and lastly, check with the person who sent you the email. For example, if I see this email, I'm gonna text Dr. George and ask if she sent me any such email. So, and her answer is gonna be no. So that's how you tackle with these deepfake emails. So to conclude, deepfakes are actually an indicator of positive progression of technology. That's mean technology is evolving and it's going towards more advanced sector now. But deepfakes are can be used for either entertaining purposes or some so deepfakes can be used for either entertaining purposes or some ill purposes as well, depending on how they are being used. And it's important for us as an individual to recognize how these deepfakes are being used when we see them. Lastly, it's lack of awareness that is causing the people to be the victims. For example, if I'm getting this email, I have to do the due diligence before I make any payments or authorize any payments, because it's my money and I have to make a decision and I have to make sure I do um, all the fact checking before I perform some action. So class, that was it, and I hope you learned more about deepfake. But before going back, let's ask what Dr. George has to say about this presentation.
Good job, Japneet. Your presentation was amazing. I will be giving you an A grade on the project.
Thank you, Dr. George. Thank you, class. Gigam.